Yeah, so Millie and her husband are doing a cooking demonstration tonight, Ukrainian cooking. They'll be making pierogies, kubasa, and sauerkraut. So welcome, Millie. Thank you for joining us at the Edmonton Intercultural Center kitchen. You and your family. Uh, Good evening.
So what I'm going to do is we have one missing, but I'm going to introduce you to our crew tonight. Myself, Millie, and I have done some. I was so excited when I saw a commercial kitchen because I've worked in children's camps and such, and I just love a big kitchen. So I'll introduce you to my sister over here, Sonia. She'll be what we call pinching pierogies, and her husband Cam. And Alan is behind the camera. And I have one more person, my sister Delight, who had to run home to get some more supplies. You know, we're all totally organized. But tonight, we're making pierogies, but we would call it pereher. My family came in the 1900s, so I'm very Canadian. But a lot of these recipes are passed down, and we enjoy them, so we continue them. There's many names for the dumplings, and when I was in Ukraine in 2016, they would call them vareniki. So they wouldn't call them pierogies or pereher or anything like that. They would call them vareniki. And there's many fillings that you can put in it. So tonight we're going to be doing my favorite, which is cottage cheese. But I know a lot of people like the cheddar cheese in it, so we're gonna adapt it. We're gonna throw a little bit of that in, and so let's get started. Any questions before I start? I guess that's what I
Yeah, one thing first there, Millie, I want to acknowledge here.
Oh, yes.
On behalf of the Edmonton Intercultural Center, we wish to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is on Treaty 6 territory, and it is the traditional gathering place for the First Peoples, our ancestors, the caregivers of Turtle Island. We honor and respect respect the history, languages, ceremonies, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who call this territory home. And I'll be the moderator tonight, so any questions anybody has concerning the cuisine or the culture, different things you'd like to know, just ask away through the chat. My name's Brad. I'm the operations administrator here at the Edmonton Intercultural Center, and I'm involved in this particular event and program every week. So we'd like to welcome again Millie, and she will get us cooking here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brad, and the introduction and everything. So what we're going to do is I've taken in the recipe. I asked that you would boil your potatoes and mash them, and with salt. So I put a fair amount of salt because the cottage cheese I use has no salt and such. So I probably won't be adding salt to it. But when you mix it up, at that point I'll say taste it yourself and see if you need any salt. So I will put the potatoes in a bowl. I'm going too fast. Please slow me down because I tried not to prepare too much so that I prepare it with you. And I have the cottage cheese, and I bought the big one because I'm going to leave the pierogies for I'm going to leave it for Brad and the crew here. So whatever we won't use. So and this breaks down so easy. This is wonderful cottage cheese. You can get the smaller pack. I got the bigger pack. And you can half into this, and the filling, if you've got too much filling, which probably will, then you can always freeze it in the freezer. So right now, as you can see, I have Hold on one second. I'm just gonna grab a spoon.
Maybe we should have a little contest here and let's see how many pierogies this will make. See if we can, the participants can guess how many pierogies. will be made
Well-
out of this batch.
I probably know, depends on my size of your cutter that you use. So right now I put the potatoes in, I put the cottage cheese in, and I usually will add, I don't need much, you know, 3/4 cup, a cup, something like that. You know, throw it in of cheddar cheese. So, a little bit of stirring here. And then then I throw in 1 egg. What the egg does is it just helps bind it, and it so that when you have the filling in, you're mixing it in, it's easy and it's not falling apart. So I'm actually going to put some gloves on and mix it with my hands so it is smooth. So hang on 1 second. We have one more person to introduce. So my sister Delight, she's been doing running back and forth. Hello, hello everyone. So then I would take it and I would mix it so it's smooth. The cheese can also be a little bit, you have to break it apart a bit because you want this to be mixed together. And you can see with the egg, it's starting to actually, like if you made a small, that will go into your pierogi. So we put a half, so. Right. So why, like when I was growing up, my mom would make straight cottage cheese, and then she would have to add a couple more eggs and such, because then cottage cheese is crumbly and it would just sort of fall apart. So that's why the potato works very well with it. But my son loves the cottage cheese, so we add a bit more cottage cheese just because we like it. There's many different fillings you can use. So I'm going to put it in here, ready to go. I'll get my trusty sister to. So we're just gonna set this aside here.
So now we've got our filling just ready to put into pierogies once we're at that stage.
Actually, I'm gonna put it.
That's
on-
when you put the crew to work, right?
Yes, for the crew. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's something as kids we knew what to do, is you just sit there and put it together. We were a lot slower than my mother. So getting this ready. And so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make our dough. Let me find my flour. So what I'm using is just regular flour, just regular white flour. And so I put this recipe is we got my mom to do it. So she would make it, and she'd put another cup in, or a 1/4 cup. And so we somehow piece together a recipe from her. And so we've been using it, my sister Delight and I have been using this for a long time. So it's a very soft dough. So you may have to add a bit more flour as we go. So we're gonna start with, we'll do the 6 cups, 6.5, sorry. I just threw an extra half cup in there because I find that it's just a little bit too soft, okay? So, but, all right, so that's 2 there. And 4. And 6 we'll just do, and this is a half cup right here. I'll just throw an extra 1 in, just to be sure. So I'm gonna make a little bit of a hole here. So over here, I'm going to, I'm trying to see if I have another container. Here it is. Okay. So it asks for 2 eggs, and 2 eggs is great. With a little bit of warm water, I'm gonna just shake that out and put 2 cups of warm water in there. That's probably as hot. You can just use the use tap water. So probably is not boiling hot, but quite warm.
It takes a little while for it to get warm.
that's
here, but yeah, that's fine.
Oh, well. Well, while we're doing that, while she's doing that, come over here, Alan. So I'm gonna start with the
If you go over to the other sink, you'll get hot water.
warmer, yeah. So I will break. I just put in a separate bowl here. Not very good. Just 2 eggs, slightly mix it. So the whites are mixed. Probably have to do a little bit more of that. See, you see a little bit of the white in there. It should be mixed completely. I'm going to get some oil. On my recipe, it says, I'm just using olive oil. On my recipe, it says 2 tablespoons oil, but actually I made a mistake. It's actually 3 tablespoons oil. If you the dough, if you can't do it all tonight and you're making it, and you can actually half the recipe, but I know we've already started with a full one. But a lot of times because you can half the eggs and the oil, and that's simple. Okay, I'm just gonna grab a spoon. What I found with the oil is that it makes, I'm not using anything precise, just a regular eating tablespoon. So definitely 3 is good. And when I said in the recipe, I said that you mix the a little bit of the warm water with the eggs and the oil and such. That what I'm gonna do and what I intended to do is when I get the water, I'm gonna mix the eggs right in it. So I think what I'm also missing right now is, I think I said there's salt. So I didn't bring a teaspoon, so I'm just going to use I think I asked for 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons, so take it flat in the regular tablespoon, give it a mix. I have Himalayan sea salt, that's why it looks pink. You can use any salt. It's just that that's just what I use in the house, just because. No specific reason for that. And such, so. Okay. We're just waiting for the water. I think right now, because this water doesn't warm up that much, we're just putting it in the microwave. So for a couple of seconds, just to give it a zap. Let me check it. It's perfect. So as you can see, I have 2 cups of 500 mils. Excuse me a second. Let me move this out of the way. 2 cups of water. And then I'm going to take my fork again. I'm going to put the egg mixture right in there. And that'll go, okay, that'll go right in here. So I'm gonna use my hands for this. So just mix it up. So it should be soft, but not sticky. Mind you, when we roll it out, then we'll be able to, and if I added too much flour, I can always put a bit more water in. Actually, Sonia, can you give me a little bit of water in my egg? This is just can be just from the tap. You see, it's not pulling together really fast, because the warmer you have the water, it probably would do it a bit more. So just give me a little bit. Not too much. Sorry. Thank you. Don't go too far, please. No. Too far. A little bit more. Another tablespoon or so, Sonia. Yeah. See, it should be a little bit more. Very good. Stop this up. Yes. Just so that, and if you had it a bit warmer, you wouldn't find that it would be quite the issue, but this isn't. Oh, that's why it's quite cold. That's why I'm having issues. I didn't know I had to bring my kettle. That's what Brad said. I should bring everything, so I should know better.
Yeah, we do have hot water, but it takes a while, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So Sonia, can you take the flour and put it on the table with the crew and with a. So my dough right now, because I added a little bit of probably a little bit extra. What do you call it? Water. It's a little sticky. It's not a big deal, because once you roll it out, so I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to take it over to the table where we're going to be rolling. if you can, Sonia, if you can come in and, so this will be our table here that we're gonna be,
It just, we washed and sanitized.
yeah, wash and sanitize, of course. Right. So. So this is, it could run away with you, but what you're gonna do is you want it to be, like maybe a little bit too much flour here, but you want it to be a 1/4 inch, because you don't want them thick and too doughy. So Sonia, if I can get you, do you want to roll? And then I will wash my hands. I'll take over. All right, so you see the dough is very, like you can pick it up, but it's too thick because you will make very, very thick doughy. You want the dough, but you don't want it too thick, so. There we go, look, oh, say that wrinkle. Now, I understand that Brad has someone at home that really wants a couple of these pierogies when he gets home.
I have two mixed Filipino children, and their favorite food is pierogies. And unfortunately, I've never learned how to make pierogies. I only buy them in the bag when they're on sale, right? So they're looking forward to having a few tonight
Awesome.
or for lunch tomorrow.
So you see, I lifted it up because you don't want it sticking to it, and then you can't, you know, then you wouldn't be able to pick it up when you're ready to put them together. All right. I'm gonna see. I've got. I don't usually use this. This might be a little bit bigger. This might be bigger than we normally do, but I usually use. You can use a wine glass. So you pick the size you would use, what you want. This isn't bad. Oh yeah, this is. Yeah. I should have brought my wine glass. So what I'm gonna do is I'll get one person, one of us here to go here, and then you would just pick it up from here, and Sonia will demonstrate. See, that's a little bit thick, even a little. Okay, so I pinch it in the middle, I stuff it in. I'm finding the dough, I might do another roll because it's a little thick, but it's not bad. So there you got your perfect one. So what we do here, and I'm just gonna dust some flour on here. So we put it on here, and I have a plastic lid. That's what I use. You can use a cookie sheet with parchment paper on it and such. So what will happen? These will go in the freezer, so they will freeze, and then you can put them together in a bag. We're going to be cooking some tonight, so probably the first one will. Do you want to just cut these and
So you can see from the way this is happening, it's very much traditionally a family operation. You know, one person can certainly do it, but to have everybody participating is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it myself. And usually there's lots of talking and laughter and you have to go like this. Because I think that's just you. Hold on. No. Just right here. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a lot of talking and laughter and things go on the floor and the kids are around and it's just a lot of fun. So once so Sonia's got this going on, Sonia Delight and Ken will start pinching, I guess, that's what we call it, pinching pierogies. And I've got, there's a couple tablespoons in there, and Ken, if you want to fill or however you guys figure.
Yeah,
So-
I find pierogies there too. Once they're pre-made or in the freezer, right? They're very quick, a very quick meal, very fast, very inexpensive meal, right? And also very tasty, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, I mean, definitely, definitely your it's a go-to. So I'm with the Ukrainian Catholic Church, so we do fasting throughout the year on Fridays, and what that means is it's just no meat. So it's it's not a vegan day, it's a vegetarian day. So we would have so pierogies is a go-to. So you can pick it up and do it. Pierogies is a go-to, so it's just easy and so yeah, so you know, there's trial and error when you push it in and see, I'm gonna demonstrate something. So if you see right here, I got a little bit of my filling on the outside, so it doesn't want to stick. So, and eventually it did. So what I'm gonna do afterwards is, before I put it in, I'll probably double pinch it. Probably go in, give it a look at a few of these. Oh, some of this is opening up, because you don't want them to open up. Because then you just have the filling in the pot and such. So as they're doing that, I am going to start with the kapusta and the cabbage and the cabbage and the kubasa. So this is an easy go-to. You can make this at any point. If your family likes sauerkraut, you can put it together and what I'm going to do is usually what will happen is fry up the onions, add a bit of the oil, the fennel, as you see in the recipe, and then what I'm doing is would you see the recipe there that you have gotten? I'm going to make a double recipe because, you know, for the crew here and such, and not my crew, but I mean the at Brad's crew. So what I'm doing is you'll see, I'm going to double the recipe of that I gave you. I need a proper knife. So really, you're just dicing the onions. You do it any old way. My mom actually has a chopper. She looks at my big knives and she goes, "What the heck are those?" You know. I very much like to use a big knife. Excuse me, I've got things in my way. This kitchen's great because there's lots of different counters that I can just go from one counter to the next and not have to clean up after myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Start this in the frying pan here with, where's my oil? There's my oil. I'm used to gas stoves. This is a little bit different. I haven't used, never know which is. So I'll just start it on high. You just want I think it says a tablespoon or so, 2 or 4 tablespoons. So probably around there. If you want, I can measure it, and I might say, oh, I didn't add enough, and I'll probably throw in a little bit more. So right now I will take my onions. I'll cut the rest up there in a minute, but I'll take my onions and put them in the frying pan. This, I mean, this isn't something my mom made at home, but within the Ukrainian community, some of my friends that I through the church and other places, what do you call it? They showed me this and such. So I think it's fun. I mean, it's an easy dish to make.
So what this is going to be for is something that you put on top of the pierogies.
No, this is not.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I misspoke. That's a separate thing. Similar, but not the same.
No, we're making this with the sauerkraut. And what I did, like while this is cooking, I have it on almost high. My sister bought some sauerkraut from Kuhlman's. It tastes like homemade. My mom used to make it. We had barrel in the kitchen, smelling, because sauerkraut is very strong. So, and of course you want it in the house, even though kids complain, but you want it in the house because you need it warm. This you can do any sauerkraut. You can do like the most sauerkraut. As you see, this one has almost no liquid in it. Normally, what I would do is if I was buying from a store like this, I would call homemade. I would rinse this, but because I tested it out before we tried it out and go, this doesn't need rinsing. But normally you would, and you'd make sure that there was no liquid. You don't need any extra liquid and such. So that kind of thing.
You said that, Millie, you said that was store-bought homemade sauerkraut?
No, this is from Kuhlman's.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, okay, I was gonna ask you where it's from. That's the garden center. Cool.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And you
Yeah.
see, they just use cabbage, salt, and sugar. That's it. So it's really natural, homemade kind of thing.
Yeah, that looks like it. I mean, it would be like homemade, right?
My mom says you don't add vinegar. That's what you don't do to making sauerkraut. So, as you see, I have a couple skins in there, but that's fine. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take a little bit of fennel and I have a mortar and pestle and I'm going to grind it. You can use already ground fennel, but I think asked for a teaspoon. I think that's what it asked for. Because I'm making a double recipe, I'm going to put. Okay, we need another spoon. That's fine. I'll be right back out. Okay.
I have a question here from Karen. Karen is asking about the sauerkraut. Does the rinsing have to do with salt? If the sauerkraut tastes salty, then you rinse it. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say Karen's right. That's what it is. And this one is not salty, at all. Like it's a perfect, but usually, yes, you're right. I think that with Pullmans, they probably, rinse it ahead or something before they put it in the jar, but this one is not. I'm turning the heat down because I don't want it to burn. Okay. So it says 2 teaspoons. So as we see, this is a tablespoon. I'm just gonna put a bit in there. If you don't have cordon pesto, then you know, just grind it with a on a board with a wooden spoon or a teaspoon. Takes maybe a little longer. But I have lots of different gadgets we use, and you can use this with mortal pesto if you're making garlic butter. That's usually, if you're making garlic butter, you put your butter and your garlic in here and such. So there. That in with the onion.
And as soon as that starts heating with the onion, it lets out quite a wonderful smell from the spice. It's freshly ground.
Oh yeah, you can tell
It makes a big difference compared to just, you know, old dried powder.
You know what? Some people don't like fennel. It's not a, but then you just wouldn't add it. I don't think it's a deal breaker one way or the other. So. I'm gonna add a little bit more oil. I see that I could use a little bit more. So how many are cooking today? I know Karen, I heard her. Okay, so then what I'm gonna do now. Wow, there's a lot in here. Okay, I might need a bigger frying pan. Or I just might leave it at this. I think I'll just use the one. I think that's plenty. I didn't know how much was in there. There's quite a bit. That. And what I'm going to do is while we're continuing making the pierogies, I'm going to have that put in the oven and stay warm. So it'll probably be in the oven maybe 20 minutes, or you know, I'll put it on for about 300 if I know what this is. No. Cancel. Bake. I don't know what.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out this oven.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Good. I just put it on for 350. And then it's starting up. It'll preheat. And eventually I'm going to be putting it in here.
If you hit if you hit bake twice, it'll go to 350 automatically.
Ah, there we go. Look at that.
Thanks, Gail. Yeah, that was one of the participants. She knows the oven.
Thank you. You know everything there. Awesome. I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit. So next, where we went and bought our sausage from is from Stanichi's, which is on 118th Avenue and 48th Street, I think it is. Yeah. So what we're gonna do, and this is usually a favorite because my family grew up in St. Paul, so coming into the city, we would stop at Mundare and pick up the sausage and stuff. That's where their main office is. There's, it's all a preference. Whatever you choose, whatever sausage you guys are used to and stuff. This one is fairly garlicky, which is always a favorite for a lot of people. So I'm just gonna cut it like this. It's gonna be smaller chunks and stuff. And as you see, you're gonna get little wedges.
Where's the best place to buy that brand? I know that the price is all over on that. Could be.
Oh, you go directly to Stanichi's on 118th Avenue and 46th. And they have, you can buy it in bulk. We bought it, of course, the more you buy, but the more you buy is the price goes down. And you can buy it in cryovac in the plastic. So if you're keeping it in the freezer, you just want one occasionally, then you can buy the cryovac. But otherwise, I would buy, I would just say, if we're having it for Christmas or Easter, then I would buy 4 or 5 of them. And if you bought, I think 25 pounds, I think your price goes down, but depends how big your family is.
Okay, Gail, Gail's asking where the sauerkraut came from, and if it's homemade. So it came from Coolman's, the garden center. They have, I guess, specialty foods there too. There you go. So it doesn't have any vinegar in it, just cabbage, salt, and sugar. So how much would a jar of that be at Coolman's?
Oh, it was $12 for a jar of that.
$12, yeah, okay. So yeah, but it's a good portion, right?
Oh, yes. Actually, I think I might add a little bit more in a minute, but because I'm making a bit bigger, it depends on my ratio of sausage to the cabbage and such. But one of my coworkers at my office, the Parkville office, they said and she's Polish, and so she suggested white. It's called white cabbage, and Costco has it in big jars. So, and of course, it's much more reasonable, but it's very clean and pure too. So, and with sauerkraut, you're adding things to it. So, like as you saw, we had fennel and we have the Kubasa.
So while this is cooking, over here, we've had more dough being rolled out, because this is a big family industrial operation. And you'll see that this bowl of cheese has gone down and potato mixture. And you can see how they've folded them up and pinched the edges and put them onto a Tupperware plastic lid so that they don't stick. And over there is a whole bunch more of them. So those are all happening. And that's something you can always do ahead of time You don't have to do it while this is going on. You can do this at leisure on an afternoon and freeze them, and then you have a supply of, you just put these in the freezer. They don't stick to the plastic. And then once they're frozen, because they haven't been touching each other, you can stick them in a bag and put the bag back in the freezer, and you don't have to buy them. And of course, they're a much more delicate texture than the bought ones as well, because you know what you can do by hand is a lot nicer than what a machine will do. So you'll be able to taste them side by side and to see what you think. And then sometimes along the line, it's traditional that a piece might go missing.
Hey.
I don't know where it went to, but you know, you might hear some chewing in the background.
So this is a good ratio of cabbage and sauerkraut and kubasa. Like I can add a little bit more kubasa, it's your choice. But what I'm gonna do for the rest is I'm probably gonna put it on a pan or and so to just heat the rest of the kubasa in the oven so that if somebody doesn't want the sauerkraut, they can just have the kubasa. So the recipe that I saw didn't add a little bit of water, but because I'm putting it in the oven, I'm gonna add a little bit of water to it and then put it in the oven and help the crew. Well, I see. So I put it in my jar. It's probably half a cup, maybe, yeah. So you can see just a little bit. What do you think, Alan? Do we need a bit more kubasa on there?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. All right. Hold on a second. So I'm gonna carefully throw that in here. So it's a Dutch oven, or you can just any pans that you have, like ovens ready, baking dishes, that's fine. You can use that. So if I wanted to make more, which I could, because there's room in here, then I can do that in a bit if I have some time. All right. So I just have to wash this because what we're going to do next is we're going to make the our next I'm going to cut up the onions, and as you can see in the recipe, it said that we had toppings and stuff, so that will be the next.
That was what I accidentally skipped ahead on when I was talking about cutting onions.
Yeah. Any questions, or anybody having any issues?
I got a question here. So your pierogies, when you're making them or I guess cooking them, you boil them, or do you ever fry them, or do you always boil them?
So I always boil them because I like them boiled. There are different ways to do it. Some people I've seen fry them directly from frozen or from fresh. You have to use quite a bit of butter or oil for that. Also, but my daughter, who lives in Winnipeg, and each Ukrainian community does things a little bit different. What they do, and as you'll see, our pierogies are going to be frozen, and then you can use them whenever. But frozen raw, sorry. And what my daughter says they do in Winnipeg is they pre-cook everything, then they freeze them, and then they just are able, they can heat them up, they can fry them, they can just boil them quickly, so it doesn't take very long. So there's different ways. I had a cook at our camp one year, and children's camp, and she was from Newfoundland, so we had all of the pierogies ready for her, and it was for her to cook. Well, I guess what she did was she put parchment paper down, threw the frozen pierogies in the oven. I've never seen it, and baked them. I guess people have done that before, but they were less of a meal, more of a snack. And they puffed up, and some people might like them, but we were going, the kids actually weren't used to it. So we go, oh, what do we do with them? Because normally at the camps, the kids try and eat each other. And it's not a surprise that they would eat 12, 12 each. And so, but there's no way they could eat these baked ones that much. So, but.
So here's a extra ingredient to go with those baked pierogies. Gail is saying that she's had baked pierogies in mushroom soup.
Oh,
delicious.
Yeah, if you bake them and you add something to it, it makes sense, but just baked, it was, you can do it. It's just not something that we would ever have to do. So just because we're not used to it, and I, if I had company over and I wanted just hors d'oeuvres or a snack that they could just pick up, so you're playing cards and stuff when COVID's not around and you have company over. That was typically at the farm. You'd have your aunts and your uncles show up, and then of course you have your plates of food. And this is after the main meal, right? And of course you have lots of food on the table and everybody's eating. And that's what you would do, is you would you could bake them. That makes perfect sense. And yeah, mushroom sauce, yeah. So you can make a fresh mushroom sauce. Some people back in the old days just put mushroom soup on it, and that would work. I don't do that anymore. I would actually do the whole chop up your mushrooms and the whole thing. So
Typically in our household, we take them from the freezer because they came from the store. And then we put them in the water to boil them. And then we take them from the water, drain them, and put them in the fry pan and fry them up, and then throw in the onions and maybe some bacon sometimes, some Kubasa sometimes, right in with the pierogies. That's my recipe.
and that absolutely, like that. I mean, it's all good. I mean, you can do anything with them. I forget who I was talking to. They said almost every culture tends to have dumplings of some sort. So the other day I was making gyozas, like for pot stickers, and they're just that I did not make the dough from scratch though. I just went to Lucky 97, bought myself the wrappers, and it was awesome. It was just but it's kind of cool. It's a meal that anybody, like all cultures, especially European or Asian or Eastern European.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any African participants, but I'm curious if there they have any dumpling equivalents, because I know that Chinese do, as well as Eastern European and a few others. So I just find all this fascinating. I love these classes.
Tigist is here, and she's participating tonight. I don't know if she can give us an answer to that. A dumpling that's in the African. Now, Tigist was our first chef in the Ethiopian Eritrean cuisine, but she's here. I don't know if she can answer us there. What kind of dumpling?
When I love Ethiopian.
Millie, you made the cuisine from last week, right? The Punjabi cuisine?
Yes, we did.
That was like
Oh, yeah.
awesome. I couldn't believe that. I had it for lunch the next day. It was so
Oh, it was really good.
good. Yeah.
Very, very yummy. Yeah, no, it lasted till the next day for sure. Like we didn't eat it all. But yeah, no, it was great to eat later and such. I think we missed the first 2 or 3 until Alan found it online and he went, "Hey, Millie, you want to do this?" And I'm going, "Oh, all right." So we started with the Turkish one, and that she was just amazing. So I don't have the heat on or anything right now. You saw how hard I fried the last ones. That was a bit harder than this. This I'm just gonna add the butter and I'm just gonna let it simmer and just at a low heat. And just so you have, so it's not, you don't want it fried really hard. So in the meantime, because they're gonna have the pierogies ready for me, I'm going to put the water on to cook the pierogies.
So there's a nice big pot waiting for them.
So I have a pound of butter. So yeah, we love butter. We'll do half.
You can use oil, but I think butter tastes much better. I really like it.
You can use margarine too. Actually, we did that, but I bought butter and do I have it on low? Yes. So how's the crew doing over there?
Very good.
Excellent.
Yes. So yeah, now there's lots of pierogies pinched there. And then if you think that's a lot, and that's only half the filling,
Yeah, I might have made too much filling, but I don't mind.
but that only means that we might have to make too much pierogies, and there's nothing ever anything wrong with having too many pierogies.
Excellent. Who does these? Who did it like this?
Me.
Very nice, fancy. So what I would do, I'm not gonna put them all in the freezer, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this, watch your head, just bend. I'll find a spot here and put it in and let it probably, I might have to take it home and then freeze it and bring it back for Brad or whatever. I'll have to see, or he might have to bag them himself tomorrow morning. And or just take it home on the tray. But we'll probably cook couple dozen or such. Okay. So we can just let this sit. This is okay. This is the heat's on. Let it sit. Now the other thing is. We love our sour cream. So of course the 14%, which is lovely, nice and fat. We at the farm when you had cream, it was not your 35%, it was probably almost butter, that much cream. We used to, for the farm, we used the milk at the farm, but we actually sold the cream for the cows and such. So so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it in here and I can use it for another time. I bought the dill from Lucky 97, so I'm just going to wash it and chop it up, mix it in with the sour cream, and you can have that sit and you can use it for just about anything. So do that right now. Oh, can't. So cold water, just give it a good rinse.
my mom tends to, she's 87 years old and she still does a garden. And so whatever dill she has, she usually cuts it up for me, puts it in the freezer. So I use frozen dill throughout the winter.
When I was in Ukraine in 2016, we went to, it was with a youth group and such, so we slept on church basement floors, and so we were at this camp, this children's camp. There's no kids there. We were at this children's camp, and they fed us their breakfast and such. Well, they made cottage cheese like the one I put in the mixture, and the pierogi mixture, the filling, and they would put a little bit of cream with it, slice up some dill, and that would be with your buns or your breakfast or whatever. Oh my goodness, I felt like this at the farm. The 20-year-olds I was hanging out with, they went, "Ooh, what is this?" And I said, "You don't want it? Give it here." It was just totally yummy for me, reminding me of being back at the farm. Okay, so I'm gonna come over. You're gonna make everybody dizzy, huh? I'm gonna come over here. And there you go. This is enough, I would say. So I want it a little finer, so I'm just gonna chop it up a bit more. Again. Do that a few times. I'm not sure how that's gonna fit, but we'll see. And then I'll just gently mix that in. I mean, if I had brought another bowl, I probably would have put it in. Here we go. I've got another spoon. But oops, making a bit of a mess. That's all right. And we, I mean, if we don't make all the pierogies tonight, that's okay, because like I said, you can put it in the fridge and make a little bit more tomorrow. But sounds like my crew is probably just about done. They're quite amazing. All right, so I'm just gonna set this aside. Check on my, it's cooking slow. I'll put it a little bit more higher. Is this even heating? Yeah, it's a little slow. That's okay. So really, the sauerkraut and the cabbage is done. The sauerkraut and the kubasa is done. It's warming up in the oven. Oven's on. And we'll just take it out. And then we will mix in a little bit of the onions and the butter with the pierogies when it comes out of the pot, and then you can serve. But so I just have to wait for pot to boil, water to boil in the pot, I mean. So any questions while I'm tidying up here? Wow, good job, you guys.
Trying.
Good job. They may never help me again.
Maybe not.
She's not kidding.
I think as long as you feed them, they'll be happy and they'll be back for more.
Actually, we've really enjoyed a lot of the other meals and such, especially anything with fish. My sister Sonia loves fish.
And she doesn't usually get it at home, so it's been a real treat, a lot of this for her, so.
So I know quite a few people have, joined a lot of these different classes that you've offered over the course of the last few months. What have been some of the favorites that other people have enjoyed?
Um, I mean, it's mixed. It's like, we have actually some of our chefs are clamoring to cook again. We have, requests for like more Filipino, cuisine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that adobo was good.
Yeah, I get it, well, maybe once every 2 weeks in my house, right? So, that's really good. We may have a fill-in slot next week, where we'll be putting Filipino food in, because of demand, but, we've got some new cuisines coming up. We've got some, South American cuisines coming, the Spanish, Mexican, um, so I've actually got, things booked up pretty well close to the end of July, with a few slots still open, but, some interesting cuisines. There isn't any repeats yet. Ormo cuisine is a new one coming up. I don't have the file in front of me, but there's some interesting ones coming, right? But I mean, I've been involved in all of them, and I've tasted maybe half of the dishes that were, cooked, and I don't have a favorite.
Well, when Brad asked me, and I think at that time, the lady that was doing the Ukrainian cuisine was still doing it, but when Brad asked me, my thought was Canadian, shepherd's pie is more British. My mother-in-law, who's British, she loves shepherd's pie, and I love making it for her, and that would definitely been my go-to, because it's just such an easy and yummy meal to make.
So I'm going to go close to the pierogies just so you can see kind of how the edges are pinched with the fingers. There's a nice one there. You can see how there's a bit of a pattern to it.
Is that yours, Soy?
Mine.
Oh, yours? Whoa,
Yeah.
show off.
So when you see that fancy edge there,
Wow.
that's always
We're keeping her.
impressive to people.
We're keeping you. Oh, I needed more. Okay. So I would say we're pretty much at the end here. So, no, the water's up.
Yeah, one thing we're sort of delayed by is that even though, the onions are coming along nicely, this water is only just beginning to steam a little, but it will not get to a rolling boil yet.
Let's change.
So we're going to change burners and see if a different burner will put out a little bit more heat a little faster.
You
A
see
couple
the,
of those burners are, it's not really a commercial oven, but a couple of those burners, on the stove there are slow, so yeah, it might work better there.
see how this is creamy? Like the butter and the onions, and then you'll put some you'll toss it with it when it's cooked, and then you will then add some more on top afterwards, and with your sour cream and dill. So yeah, I should have brought a lid. This will I'm gonna improvise. Improvise. Lid on there. Okay, put a lid on it. Yeah, absolutely. No fighting over here?
So has anyone any questions about Ukrainian culture while we're waiting for the water to boil?
When our grandparents came they're, a lot of them brought with them, religious icons and such, where I think it's a little bit, when the new wave, it's a little bit different, when the new ones that come now, but, that was sort of their treasured possessions. They'd have a trunk with them and they'd be on ships and, oh, I do have a fun story. What year was Titanic? 1912? Yeah, so, my grandfather, and the Stiebel, Stiebel, so he came to Canada, set up, in northeastern Alberta, and you can get a bush for $10. So, and he went home and brought his wife, and I think there was 2 Sonny or 3 kids, 2 kids already. And so he brought them over, and he was going to come on the Titanic, because that was of course, he didn't have much money, so he'd be probably in the bottom. But I don't remember why they wouldn't let him on.
Because it was full and he was a peasant, so there was not enough room for him.
Yes. So,
And his 2 kids and wife, and one on the way.
so no, he was not allowed on, so we're here today.
Because Dad wasn't born then.
Yeah, so he had to wait till the next ship, and then he was able to bring his family to Canada. He came ahead, and then he was gonna go on the Titanic. I'm like, really? Wow. But
Dad told the story all the time.
yeah, all right, so I would say the onions was done, how we would water. Taking a little bit of time. Patience, I have to eat at home. Might eat at home, yeah. No. We got a little bit of time.
I don't know what time it is. 6:20?
So you
Yeah,
might,
still lots of time. Sorry for the stove there, but
That's okay. It's just that there was compared to my place, there's just a little bit more room, like to have a table set here, and I've got an old house in Macaulay, and it's and the kitchens are never big, so we manage because we do, and it's good, but yeah, you guys are done. So there's not much filling left. And I have some filling in the freezer that I made at Easter, and just I didn't use it, so I just froze it. And then I will use it with the next batch for this.
This is, there's no more dough.
No more dough, you're done. Yay, listen to them.
so yeah, all the dough's gone. We just have this little bit of filling left that we can put aside and roll into the next batch that we make some
So-
other time.
What I'm gonna cook, because of the size of the pot, well, I mean, I can do it more than once, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do two pans full. So how many do we have here? Anybody want to count? Alan, you can do the count. See how many we're gonna cook?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So there's 2 dozen on a plate there, or on a Tupperware lid. So that's a good estimation, that a big Tupperware lid is about 2 dozen pierogies. Maybe a little less, depends how tight they're packed.
Yes. It's
So one nice thing about Macaulay is if you go down 96th Street or Church Street, there's churches from all different cultures and times of immigration. And along it, just to the side, is St. Joseph's Ukrainian Cathedral. And that's what we belong to. And of course, you'll find a lot of the churches around that are Ukrainian have done a lot of fundraising by people making pierogies and selling them to the community. So there are some churches in Edmonton that literally the mortgage was paid by people making pierogies.
So Millie, I've got some questions here. You were asking to bring on some questions. I seem to have missed a few here. So one of them is from Tigus. She's asking if there's is it traditional to have a sauce for the pierogies? I think that I know it has to be sour cream.
So what do you put on pierogies? Explain the toppings or sauces.
Okay, so the when they're cooked, then you would add a bit of the butter so that it will so they won't stick together. The butter and onions, and then when you're sitting to eat it, then you would add the your dill and sour cream. You can just have plain sour cream, but definitely the dill is a plus. I'm just gonna put some of these pierogies in the freezer.
It is traditional to have a sauce. That's what it is.
Oh, is it? Yes. Oh, yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
because we always had, sometimes they put bacon in with onion, sometimes they just do it without, like butter and onion, like we're doing it. But it's traditional to have a sauce.
Okay, then another question is, are there sweet fillings for the pierogies?
Yes, there is. So a lot of times, some people will put leave sour cherries, and I'm not sure. I haven't done it, so I couldn't tell you exactly what goes in it. It's not a sweet filling though, and blueberries. So it'd be like wild blueberries you'd mix up and there wouldn't be a lot of sugar in there. Just a little bit of sugar and your blueberries, or a little bit of sugar in your sour cherries.
And of course, those ones you wouldn't put the onion topping on. It's more of a sweet dessert. I have even seen some people sprinkle a little bit of powdered sugar on top, and so it becomes more of a dessert pierogi.
I'm gonna just heat these the kubasa up. I'm gonna turn the heat down actually, or off.
Okay, and then Millie, I got another question.
Okay.
At Christmas time, in your household, in your family there, tell us what you would make for your traditional Christmas dinner.
Okay, give me a second and I'm gonna put these in first. And now the water's boiling, and then I'll explain to you about sviatbachet. Sviatbachet is your 12 meatless dishes. Fish is considered part of the meatless. So then I'll go through it in a minute.
Yeah, the question Karen has is, does Millie make the full range of Ukrainian foods, the 12-course Xmas meal and all that? So it
Oh, yeah.
sounds like, yeah. So
Give it a little stir because you don't want it to stick together. Give it a little stir. I'm trying to think of, it's either sticking a little because we had a little bit of flour on it, but maybe we should have added a tiny bit more. You don't want it sticking. That's a problem. You know what? I won't put any more. I'll let it, I'll put it in the next batch.
So because these burners aren't very strong, you'll see that it stopped boiling. And it'll take a little while before it's heated up the pierogies enough to start boiling again. So the danger there, why we like it more of a rolling boil, is so that the pierogies don't stick together, because that's what can happen if they're still like this, if it's not boiling fully. So we're just going to keep making a very gentle stir, and gentle because we don't want to break that delicate dough on the outside of them. and then they'd release their fillings. So just real nice and gentle there. So hopefully that'll be boiling again within a minute or two. And once it is boiling, it doesn't take very long to cook, not at all.
You want it to float to the top. Okay, so this we can turn off. The onions are done.
So even though it's not fully boiling, you'll see some of them are starting to rise to the top. And that's a good sign. That means they'll be ready soon.
And you want them to cook probably about 2 or 3 minutes before it, maybe a little bit longer once it's floating. Good, you can watch that. So, okay, now I'm gonna talk about. So, the style batches, which we call it, it's basically the Christmas Eve dinner. It's considered fasting, so you would not use, you wouldn't, it's vegan. So you wouldn't use dairy, you wouldn't use eggs. But because fish was not considered, meat was considered fancy, but fish was not. So in the time, it started in pagan time, of course, a lot of these traditions. And they adapted it to Christianity when Christianity came in 988 AD and into the Ukrainian, the Byzantine culture, and then the Ukrainians had it. And so what 12 dishes. So you would have your kolache, which is your bread. And I think, we were on the farm, so we used cream, but a lot of people, like, you're doing it very traditionally, you would not. So there would be, your wheat, your cooked wheat, and you would add honey and poppy seeds in it and such. So, and everybody starts with that. I wish I had what I could do is send something to Brad to pass on our Ukrainian Christmas Eve dinner. So, and then you do your cabbage rolls, your varenyky, your different pierogies and such. So you would have, so of course you would just have the potato ones. There would not be any, there wouldn't be any cheese in there. Oh, look at this. Aren't they just beautiful?
Now they're boiling.
Yeah, they look just scrumptious. The cutter I had was a little bit bigger, so I like mine when I make it a bit smaller. But my husband, some think the bigger the better, of course. So that's okay. So I'll let it, and these are really nice. They're not falling apart. You guys did an awesome job. Thank you. And I should have another bowl. That's right one. Let me give it to you. Oh, thank you, Ken. Yeah. So you could strain it, like put it in a strainer. What I use is, I bought one of these. I think it's IKEA. I'm not sure. No, it's not. Somewhere. So what you would do is you would just lift it, you would drain it in there. Drain it, and it would go straight in there. Then you can use the pot again. So I'm just going to give this another 2-3 minutes. It doesn't take long when you are when they're not frozen. It's a lot faster. So, right, you can see the Kubasa looks really yummy, and it's all ready to just eat. I'm going to put them on the table.
So for people who aren't familiar with it, it's the sausage that has a fair amount of garlic in it. And by having it warm, of course, then you can start to smell that come out, and it's very flavorful.
Tigas just sent you a message and said that she's thanking you and your crew for putting this meal together. And Tigas, like I said, was our first chef in the series here, Eritrean Ethiopian cuisine. Well, she's gonna try making pierogies here someday. She's interested in trying.
Yeah. And if she's interested in joining us to learn how, assuming COVID, allows that to happen, by all means, Tigas, contact Brad and he can put you in touch with us, and we can even do some of these things together. We'd love to share our culture with you, and love if you can share yours with us too.
Yeah, that was the purpose of this whole idea. The way it originated was that we would bring cultures together in our center. And Tigas, she's a broker, working with the Ethiopian Eritrean community. And, we could, in a perfect world, have a bunch of ladies get together from her community and learn how to roll the, or to make the pierogies, right? That's what our intent is, right?
So the pierogies are coming out of the boiling water. You'll see that she's draining them with that big slotted spoon, and they've been circulating in the nice rapidly boiling water, floating on top for the last couple of minutes. So we know that they're done. The dough will be nice and delicate. In fact, if you take a close look, you can even see through the dough a little bit. It's very slightly transparent.
And then I'm gonna put a little bit of onions and butter in. And typically, you don't want to put a spoon in. So you would just toss it in. So you would just toss it in and such.
And the reason you don't put a spoon in, of course, is because the dough is so delicate, being warm and thin, they would break up. So just by tossing it a bit, and the butter prevents them from sticking together, and the onions, of course, flavor them. And then of course, with the pierogies, we've got the kapusta or cabbage with the garlic sausage, or kubasa, as well as the big pieces of kubasa if you want something a bit meatier. And then right away, we'll have the sour cream and dill as a topping.
Yeah, do you want her to make it or do?
Yeah, she can. Sonia will plate it for us and show us how you would typically serve it.
Usually. Taking it. Okay. That's what puts a little bit of. I'm gonna put it on top.
And you can see, how carefully she handles them, how delicate they are. And that's the big difference between handmade pierogies and the commercial machine pierogies that most people are more familiar with. But these are much more delicate. And the taste isn't really, hugely different, but the texture and how that allows the flavor to come out makes a surprising difference. So now we've got our sour cream with dill.
And you got your onions on there. There you go.
And there's the whole finished product, right? Like that.
That looks fantastic. Very appetizing.
So do you want me to walk it over to your office?
No, I'll wait. Yeah, I'll hold my
No problem. Thank you so much. This was a pleasure. I was a little bit of a surprise to me. I didn't expect to be doing this, and I didn't go pierogies take a while to make. We're gonna have. We takes a little while, so we didn't know. But I was very fortunate to have the crew here and such.
Yeah, well, on behalf of everybody, we appreciate you and your crew, Millie and the crew there for presenting your cuisine and your culture to us and telling us a few stories. Very interesting and very appetizing. So I'm sure we'll see you again on one of the other weeks we have lined up. Next week, like I said, we plan to have, I think it's Philippine cuisine again, a
Oh.
different dish. So I'm not sure exactly yet, but maybe it'll be a surprise. Um, Okay, so thank you very much, Millie.
All right.
And we'll see you again. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Sit down.